Hey there, adventurers. I'm Norwolf. Welcome to my role-playing game realm and to session 20 of my Powers and Perils solo play. So, when last we left our intrepid adventurers, Gildor, Raffin, and Marazan had come across a rundown shack in front of a large cave entrance. After dealing with some orcs and a chaos wizard outside, they searched the building and then proceeded into the cave, where they encountered orchi, zombies, another corporal edemu, or a white, and a couple of different demons. The surprise find was a chaos-dedicated magical orb near the end of the underground rune complex. And from the note that they found on the wizard, he and his motley crew of orcs and orchi and a few zombies were sent to this area to find a hidden, collapsed underground ruin, and ultimately this orb that our characters now have in their possession. So, the characters last time around had gathered up some miscellaneous items from the various creatures in the cave and headed back to their camp where the couple of horsemen were taking care of their various and sundry horses, and they'd made a camp. Gildor and Marazan replaced their banded heater shields with some of the equipment from the orcs. They collected miscellaneous arrows to replenish their supplies. Those also came from the orcs. There's a set of plate mail that they'll be taking back with them and probably getting resized for Raffin. Marazan will take the metal heater shield that they found. The talisman of immunity to poison will go to Raffin. I think last time I may have said the magic axe is going to go to Marazan. Actually, it's going to go to Raffin. And the magic mace is going to go to Marazan. They were going to spend the night in the camp here. I'll be rolling for the encounter shortly. And originally I said they're probably going to continue searching for the whether or not there's some sort of an orc encampment somewhere around here. But I think that evening while they're sitting around the campfire, Gildor's going to convince our trio here that it's probably a better idea to get this magical item out of their possession, either back to Kerketten or maybe even back to Gildor's mentor, who's Lendorin. So I think after some discussion, they're going to basically turn around and head back in the morning. They'll take whatever equipment off of these orcs and stuff that they can carry. There's also there's a bunch of miscellaneous stuff there. I doubt that they'll be able to carry all of it. I haven't quite figured out exactly what all they will take. I'll worry about that sometime later offline. But there's various other gold coins, silver coins that they found. Gold rings, gems, jewels, jewelry. Took the horns off the two orchi they killed, and yeah. So let's roll for their encounters for the night, and we'll go from there. All right. So our chance of an encounter that night is going to be 20%, basically. So we have a 45, so no encounters that night. Next morning comes along. It is the 26th. And we will roll for our weather. I'll grab another pen here. So our weather in June, yep, is going to be a 7. We're going down. So it's going to be what is this? This is a light showers with a windy day. So not necessarily pleasant traveling weather, but they will travel nonetheless. And I think for their travel direction, they will... What route are they taking? You need that. Let's go with the pen. I think they're going to head off into the plains here and basically head back towards Yarketan. With the horses, I think they're moving about 20 miles a day, give or take. I'm gonna basically say that they'll push it, and particularly once they hit the road, they'll be able to make it into Yarketan by kind of early evening sort of thing and head for the main castle. So let's do another encounter roll for the plains during the day. And that is going to be, again, another 20% chance. And a 36. So they have an uneventful trip back to Yarketan. But as usual, I, of course, skipped over my daily steps. So let's actually start with that, or let's finish that off before I wrap up this day. So, previous day, actually 25th, I've already marked it in here. Expertise-wise, they get 1 horsemanship, 1 hill survival, and 1 carrying. And, oh, looks like I've got an invader. Oh, kitty. All right, hang on one sec. Right, invader's gone. Weather, I just did that, which is going to be, what did I say? That was drizzle. Wait, drizzle with windy. And mana regen and any energy level regen. The only one with mana lost is probably Gildor. Well, is Gildor. He's down 26. So he will be down 20. 20 points used. All right. And what else? No healing. I don't think there's any spell casting for the day. 26th. Actually, let's just double check here. So 25th, we're finished. We're now on the 26th, and we head for Yarketan. Knowledge spell is coming up on the 30th, so just got to keep that in mind for Gildor. And let's see. So they are, by the end of that day, back in Yarketan. And where is my map? There's Yarketan. So they come in through the north gate, basically make their way through the city streets towards the main castle area. They'll pay their respects to the various folks there that they know. They'll ask for an audience with Eric the Red when he has an opportunity. You'll likely meet them kind of late that evening. They will relay the information of, kind of what they've encountered, that they'll give some very specific directions, which Eric will pass on to one of his scribes or other henchmen or whatever that will take note of it and probably send a small patrol out to that location just to ensure it's secured and maybe even cave it in, since it is a chaos-oriented rune of sorts. I think there's a, so he'll actually, Eric the Red will recommend that they pass the orb on to Lendorin, since Lendorin's kind of the wizard of the realm. There's probably only about a 30% chance that Lendorin's actually at the main castle here at this point in time. So he's not. And So it sounds like they're going to be making a bit of a trek out to Lendorin's, Lendorin's domain here. Oops. So this tower down in the kind of the down in the southwest quadrant here is kind of Lendorin's keep. There's a tower there, a small community that kind of is self-sustaining, and they've got a bit of a trek to make their way down there. So they will spend the night at the keep and look to head out again in the morning after replenishing their supplies. Actually, while they're there that evening, they'll hit the armor, pass on the plate mail armor. Raffin will get sized up for it, so they know what sort of modifications they need to make to it. I'm going to kind of give it a reasonable chance that really it's a bunch of straps and other things that just have to be adjusted or replaced, and that the resizing effort is probably not going to be substantial. So I'm going to just say that's, let's go for 60%. 16. So I think makes it basically a solid chance that one morning Raffin is going to be carrying around a suit of plate mail with him instead of a suit of chain mail. We'll have to update his character sheet with that. Again, he's not wearing that while he's riding. He'll be wearing scale mail while he's riding, and if they get into a situation where time permits, like they did with this ruined shack, he'll be swapping into that plate mail armor, and before they proceed into any sort of a dangerous situation. So let's carry on with our travels here. So they didn't actually search these hexes as they passed through it, so I'm not going to be diving into the book I was using previously for searching hexes, which is filling in the blanks. When they come back to, I guess when they make it back to Kerketten after dropping off the orb, depending on what the current situation is, they will either continue on with looking for kind of where those orcs may be holding out that are kind of harassing this area, or maybe they'll have a new task in hand that'll be handed off to them to deal with. So we'll see where they end up. So let's get rid of this line. And let's proceed with our travels here. So traveling down the road reduces their movement, or actually reduces movement cost by about 50%. So basically, riding the horses that they've got, each hex here is 5 miles, and we're going for, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 30 miles to get to Cloverlass. Basically sometime in the afternoon. They're probably going at a relatively leisurely pace. They'll, mid to late afternoon, they'll make it to Cloverlass and look for accommodations. But again, before I get ahead of myself as usual, let's do our experience and things. So on the 26th, of course, they get another point of horsemanship, another point of plane survival, and another point of carrying. They invest and store their equipment and whatnot. The 2 horsemen are still traveling with them. And let's see, what else? So the skills gain, the food points used. One thing I didn't do is knock off the food points. So I've kind of rearranged the sheet here for how I'm doing food points. They need 12.5 food points per day. They would have used And again, because they ended up in the city at the end of the day yesterday, they would have only used half that. So I'm just going to say they used 7. And again, for this day, the 26th, or 27th now, they will have used another 7. And the horses need 23 per day. With the grazing, they're using 11. And again, because they're allowed to graze during the day, we're heading through the plains here. And that evening, they're getting fed when they're being stabled. So half again, so I'm just going to call that 6. So 6 for the 2 days. 6 each of the days. All right, what else? That takes care of food used. Current day weather. I'm getting ahead of myself on the food use as well, so, oh well, anyways. All relative. Okay, so the weather on the 27th is, we've got a 4. We are going down here. So that's going to be a breeze and light clouds. Oops, wrong pen. Don't use a permanent marker on here. So, good traveling weather. Mana regen. Gildor is getting another 6 points back, so he's down 14 now. And no energy, no spells that he's using or needing to cast that morning. They're traveling for the day, so yeah, that is the 27th. So the 27th, they make it into Cloverlass. Now, the big question is, do I actually have a map for Cloverlass? I have a feeling my Cloverlass map is an old one, and sure enough, this is one of the old Judges Guild maps. I think I'm going to replace this at some point, but anyways, they make it into town. They'll find an inn for the night. They'll pay their usual, I think it's a couple, probably 2 or 3 silver coins worth, which I'll just deduct out of party treasure at some point. Doubt anything interesting will happen that night. So let's see what we have for city encounters here. I'll probably roll it and then determine whether or not there's anything of real significance that happens here. We're going to say it's just normal, not foreign or wealthy. So let's give that a roll. 51. So nothing of particular interest happens that night. Any of the shady folks in the town or in the large town here are avoiding our characters. And we'll head out again the next morning. So this is going to be the 28th. And let's see. So again, for the 27th, we have horsemanship, we have plain survival, and we have carrying as they travel through the plains. So sorry, they had made their way past this this traveling inn that's kind of midway. If they were walking, they probably would have stayed there for the night, but since they're riding, they made it all the way to Cloverlass. And this next day, they will depart Cloverlass, head for Greenwick, And the road gets pretty rough getting to the tower here. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20. So they will likely head for this inn, camp the night, or stay there for the night, and then make their way down to the tower the following day. I think that's their plan for the day. Right, so got the skill gains. I've already got ahead of myself and deducted the food use, I think. No, actually, no, I didn't. All right, so let's do the food. They actually, you know what? They will actually do some foraging while they're traveling that day, or some hunting. So let's pop over to the PDF and do some hunting. That is going to be... Okay, so the hunting, the base chance, hunting in the plains is going to be 35%, the base yield of 3. And our base chance is modified by the highest EL times 3. So whoever has the highest plain survival, I'm going to bet it's going to be Gildor. And Gildor's plain survival? Oh, he doesn't actually have plain survival. All right, so it's not him. I am mistaken. Raffin, plains, nothing. And Marazan, plain survival. Why do these guys not have plain survival? All right, so it's base 35%. So 35. 1. Well, I guess they succeeded. So base yield is going to be 3 times the number of hunters, which is going to be 5 of them. Our 3 fairy trio plus their 2 horsemen. So 5 plus the highest EL is 0. So 15 food points. So we are doing plus 15 and minus 7 and minus 6 here. All right, and did I do the weather? Yes, I did the weather for the 27th. So the 28th weather is going to be 7. We are going down. We end up with a hot, sunny day. See our little sheet here. Excellent. Okay. Let's see. Weather, mana regen. So Gildor's getting another 6 points back. He's down to just 8 points used. And we are on the 28th. Oops, where's my pen? There we were at, what's the name of this place? Cloverlass. The 28th, they make it to the waypoint in. And we will roll an encounter for the day here in a sec. Spellcasting, oh, okay. I have a feeling that by the time they make it to the tower, they'll have spent some time there, and Gildor will be doing his knowledge spell while he's at his mentor's tower, which will be a bit of a bonus since his mentor is an Elder Aligned wizard as well, and his tower happens to have a permanent Elder Purification spell cast in one of his rooms that Gildor can take advantage of, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So, our encounter for the day. Again, we're in the plains. They will do some hunting this day as well. So first of all, the encounter. No encounter, and our hunting, base 35, and they don't even get a partial success in hunting. And that is the 28th. Okay, the 29th. Actually, so yeah, the 29th. So the 28th, they are getting 1 horsemanship, 1 plain survival. They did make it through some forest there, so I'm actually going to give them some forest survival as well. Be generous here. And 1 carrying. Basically, they're carrying, as they travel every day, it's going to go up 1 point until it gets maxed. So, and for that day's encounter, what is our chance in the forest? No, it's 20% for the plains. Forest is going to be 25. So let's see what we get here. We have a 20. So I will give it a 50-50. That it's either 50 or less, it's the plains. We are in the forest when they have the encounter. And this is daytime. We're rolling a die 2. Basically, 1 to 3, it's day A. 4 to 6, it's going to be day B. And our percentile for the encounter is, and this is going to be somewhat subjective, 43, a fire snake. So the fire snake is a law-aligned creature. And generally speaking, our kingdom here is, generally speaking, Elder aligned, although it does have law and neutral and balanced creatures and people. So I'm going to basically rule here that, and this is with my DM hat on, that the fire snake, or snakes, die 3 with the stars. I think that means it's 1 to 3, it's 1, 4, 5 is 2, and 6 is 3. So it's just 1 fire snake. He'll observe our little merry crew of travelers, and it'll basically be a non-encounter. So these fire snakes are winged serpents, 2 to 3 feet long. What's their movement rate? Where's the movement rate here? Movement rate 8 to 20. So they fly 20. So basically he'll observe the crew. Our merry band of travelers may or may not see him. It's probably relevant. And they'll both carry on their merry way. So it's essentially a non-event. Right, so they make it to the Travelers Inn here in the midst of the hills and forest. They'll again dish out some coinage for the night for themselves, their steeds, the horsemen that are with them. I'm just going to call that 3 silver coins. That have been 3 for the previous night and 3 for the night here. This is the 20. Oh, of course, I'm probably skipping over all sorts of stuff as usual. Kind of jumping all over the place. And, right. So, skill gains we did. Food points we did not. We didn't gain any That was what? 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. We got the previous days. Doing the 29th now. Where is my weather chart? 3d6. We got a 5, so we are going down. It's going to be a cloudy, windy day. Oops, wrong pen. Keep doing that. Cloudy, windy. Food points. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, so we have to take our food points off. 7 and 6. And... is that right? Seem to be getting ahead of myself here. Let's go back to our handy map. Just validate this. So we did 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Yeah, I'm definitely getting ahead of myself. So let's scratch that. The 29th, we are actually traveling on the road and to tower here. We're at the tower that day. We're traveling through some fairly dense forest. So our forest encounter chance, I believe, was 25%. And we have an encounter in the forest. Let's pop back to the PDF and see what we've come across. Forest. All right, 1 to 2, or sorry, 1 to 3 is A. We've got a 1, so we're on the A chart. And we encounter 29. A goat. Well, isn't that exciting? A wild goat in the forest. That'll probably make some good food, I suppose. Yeah, they're going to leave it. Let's just ignore the goat. They're foraging in the forest. Yeah, I think they'll do that while they travel. Maybe they'll be able to bring a bit of food to Lendorin's tower. Something to feast on that night. Our forest hunting. Oops. Of course. Wow. PDF navigation fail. Okay, our forest hunting is 50% and base yield 5. And we at least have some forest survivals happening here. And this is definitely where Lendorin shines. He's got a 9 forest survival. So base chance is 9 times 3, 27 plus 50, so 77. He succeeds. And we have 5 hunters. Base yield 5, so 25 plus 9. They should basically leave all their hunting for the forest, I think. So what's that? Plus 34. They'll be able to bring a feast to Lendorin's tower, and they will be probably leaving a good portion of that with Lendorin when they head out. So yeah. So they're cloudy, windy day as they move through the forest, and that kind of midday make it to the, or mid to late day, mid to late afternoon, probably mid-afternoon, they'll make it to the tower. And let's see, do I have a map of the tower? I do not. Let me see if I can scrounge it up quickly here. I found an old map from my original, that I originally used for this. Again, I'm going to be replacing this one with something a little bit more modern. I might make myself or try and scrounge one up. Basically, the idea here is they've come in from the north. There's Lendorin's tower up on top of a hill. There's a number of different buildings that have various crafters and farmers and whatnot. It's like a small village or small town, probably more on the size of a village, and it's somewhat self-sustaining. Lendorin tends not to like a lot of visitors and things from other parts of the realm. He's a little bit likes to kind of keep this area a little bit more solitary, and but he does spend a fair bit of time traveling between here and Carricketton when duty calls. So, anyways, they'll make their way here, make their way up to the tower that afternoon, or kind of early afternoon. They'll seek an audience with Lendorin. They'll go through and go through the pleasantries, the introductions. Raffin may or may not have met Lendorin in the past. Marazan definitely hasn't. Gildor's probably spent a good 3-4 or more years here in his training to be a wizard and in his Sid Magician training. So he's very familiar with this area. Lendorin makes, some remark about Gildor being one of his more gifted students. I'm not sure if that's a compliment or a joke, but anyways, he takes it. And during the conversations, the Gildor will eventually pull out the orb and say, kind of give Lendorin the rundown on this underground ruin that they've come across, the Chaos Wizard that was there, looking for this underground ruin, trying to get into it and find this orb. It's obvious that the orb itself has a chaos magic dedication to it. And Gildor himself is not sure exactly what the orb is capable of. And it'll take Lendorin a little bit of time to actually figure that out. But maybe, down the line on Gildor's next visit, when we find out what the orb is actually, what the magical powers of the orb are. I may post something a little bit later as to kind of a quick rundown on kind of the magic properties of the orb, just to show one of the more powerful type magic items. Lendorin will put them up in various rooms for the night within the tower. It's a fairly tall tower, and there's a number of different guest rooms in it. Lendorin warns them not to travel up beyond I think it's the 3rd floor of the tower, because there are ward pacts in place that will trigger if certain conditions aren't met. A quick rundown on what a ward pact is. So in the permanent magics, actually it might be easier if I find it in the PDF. It's going to be Permanent Magics, page 182 and 183. Let's go over to the PDF. Be easier to read there. So, Permanent Magics and Ward Pacts. That's the expensive one to cast. Ward Pact itself has a base mana cost. Base mana cost of 15. So even an EL 0 costs 15 to cast. So Ward Pact. Basically, the caster. What's the quick summary here? So the Ward Pact, you can basically cast the Ward Pact on an area. You can embed a spell in it or some sort of thing that you want to trigger. So the Ward Pact allows the caster to place a permanent enhancement or enchantment on a specific place or things. The spell is activated by any person entering the area or touching the thing protected. The exact parameters will cause the effect to occur are the discretion of the player. If the ward created is a spell with a range or a being, the word will have a range. When the spell is activated, it will strike out in the direction of the person that activated it. For range, the focal point is of the spell, the thing touched, or the symbol of the ward will serve as the caster. So the Ward Pacts can be created to cast spells, warn the violators, warn the creators, summon supernatural forces to attack the violator, curse the violator, etc. Once formed, the Ward Pact is eternal. It remains in effect regardless of the fate of its caster. It can only be affected by a Dispel Banish spell that has an EL higher than the EL of the ward. Finally, Ward Pacts can be given immunities. These immunities will affect any personified guardian that is summoned through the pact. The guardian will be immune to the power specified. They may not be made immune to a Dispel Banish. Method of forming Ward Pact is cast the pact, cast the spell, and pay EL plus 1 times 2 mana points to place the ward into effect. And then it gives an example. So basically, Lendorin's warned these guys not to travel up the stairs, because there are ward pacts in place in various aspects or various places within his tower, including probably the entrance. So typically, these ward pacts would be in place against an opposing alignment. So in Lendorin's case, it's likely Chaos and Katothi or something like that the Ward Pacts would trigger against in the lower part of the tower. And in the upper part of the tower would be, anybody that's not part of his usual retinue or something. So that is a Ward Pact. Very neat spell, kind of one of the neat magics that are defined within this, within Powers and Perils. So they will spend the night there. They'll probably spend the evening discussing, various things with Lendorin. Marazan and Raffin will probably call the night early. Once Gildor and Lendorin get into talking about magics and discussing spells and all the rest of that kind of fun stuff. And we will pick up with the next day. Now, obviously, there won't be any encounters that night since they are in the safety of a protected tower. We are on the 30th. On the 29th, they travel through forest. They'll get a carrying. They'll get a horsemanship. And actually, I think there was hills here too. Let's dive in here a bit. Nope, just mainly forest, so I won't give them a hill survival for that. Although they ended up in the hills here in the tower. So, skill gains, did that. Food points used. It's going to be 7 and 6. The weather for the day, for the 30th, is going to be 6, so that is going down. So it is going to be a cloudy day with light showers and a breeze. And they will actually spend the day there. Gildor will be doing his knowledge spell. And Raffin and Marazan will probably do some sort of... What will they do that day? So Marazan is actually going to spend the day... There's bound to be somebody in the village here that Lendorin has that can train her in mace. Just going to give that to her. So she spent 1 day on mace. Not going to get her very far. What's the cost of that? Okay, so mace costs us 20 to learn. Oops. So mace, 20 to learn. I know she wants to also learn the ability to throw daggers, but we're not too worried about that right now. It costs 20. She will get 2 points in that because she's being trained. So if she wants to actually use the mace without actually having an EL0 in it, she will be adding 20 to her roll to hit. But as she gains expertise in that, towards that 20, that the addition to her attack roll will decrease as well. So with that 2, it'll be only plus 18 to her roll instead of plus 20 to her roll. And then once she learns mace, because it's a family skill or a weapon course, mace will give her club, mace, flail, and hammer. And if we look down at the weapon table, the interesting thing about maces, and this is probably something that I have to spend a little bit more time on actually using, is for a club. So for example, a club is 0 minus 1. So the parenthesized weapon strength bonus applies to a shield hit, and when charging on foot. Increase the effective weapon strength bonus by 1 on a deadly hit or severe hit. So it's essentially 0 minus 1 plus 1. When you look at a hammer, the hammer is a two-handed weapon. It follows the same rules. So it would be plus 2, plus 1, plus 3. So on a severe or deadly hit, it has a weapon strength bonus of plus 3. Flail is even more interesting. So the flail is plus 1 normally, 0 weapon strength bonus of 0 on a shield hit, plus 2 on a severe or deadly hit, and when mounted or charging, it's a weapon strength bonus of increased by 2. So I would say there's 2 ways you can interpret that. It's either going to be plus 3, or depending on the type of hit you get, it's plus 2 on top of whatever type of hit that is. So if it's a shield hit and its weapon strength bonus is 0, and you're doing it and you're attacking from a horse, it's actually going to be plus 2. Which means if you're getting a severe or deadly hit with weapon strength bonus of plus 2, normally, it's going to be plus 4. So I'm inclined to say that a flail is a pretty nasty weapon if that's the case, and that's the way you choose to interpret that rule. Otherwise, it's going to be plus 1 or so plus 3 or whatever type of hit it is, which to me, I guess I'd be leaning more towards saying it's 2 on top of any of the other modifiers depending on the type of hit it is. So anyways, that's a flail. And it kind of makes me think a magic flail would be a pretty awesome weapon to have. So, all right. So they are at Lendorin's Tower for the night. They will start the next morning, and I think I will basically wrap up with whatever these guys are doing that day. So Marazan trained in the mace. She got two expertise in mace. Raffin will have spent the day training in fighting dagger too. So let's see. This is the 30th. Marazan, mace, Raffin, in dagger. And Gildor will spend the day training one of his spells with Lendorin, maybe working towards a new spell or something. So I will, and of course he's going to cast his knowledge spell that day. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. We'll start the next session with casting the knowledge. You know what? Let's do the knowledge spell now. What the hell? So Lendorin. Let's see. Lendorin is a small insight into some of Lendorin spells. So Lendorin has purification at EL 6. So he's got a room that has a permanent elder purification in it. And we look at the purification spell. EL +1, so 7, so it'll subtract 14 from the roll. So 14% bonus to the roll. And Gildor is casting it on himself. So his MDV is applied as well, so he's that's a 17. So that's minus 31 to his roll. He is casting knowledge at EL 0. And where is my chart? Oh, let's see. We are MEL 5. MEL 5. We are minus 31 on the roll, which is going to be 44. It just makes it. Good thing he's got the huge minuses there. Didn't need to cast purification. He was just casting the straight knowledge. The knowledge spell itself has a base mana cost 5. Of course, base mana cost 5 at 0 is costing 5 to cast. He doesn't have a language for it at this point. So he's burning up 5 mana, but he also got 6 mana back that morning. So he's down, he's up 1 mana. And he's got a knowledge to use. And of course that knowledge spell he was using towards learning a new supernatural language. So he's getting a D6 expertise in that language he was working on. And he was working on learning Tongue of Dvalin, is the supernatural dwarvish language. Got 8 points in it so far. And he's going to get 4 more points in it. So, +4. Got a ways to go before he learns it. Actually, he'll spend that day with Lendorin actually learning that language. So another +2. Because Lendorin has that language in his repertoire. For experience, he is going to get base mana or experience 2 times 5, so he's getting 10 magic experience points. And base mana cost times 2, so 10 expertise points in knowledge. +10. So that's actually going to bump him up a level for the next time around. So his AL1 got 2 expertise left over. And that actually changes his when he can actually cast it next. So again, the knowledge spell can only be cast once every 15 days. Where is it? Frequency EL 15 minus EL. So yeah, every 15 days less the -1 for the Yell, so you can cast it 14 days from now. So if we look at the old calendar here, we are on the 30th. So 14 days, on the 14th, he will be able to do another knowledge spell. And I think that is that day. Anything going on that day? 91. Nope. So we pass that day. 30th, they're not traveling anywhere. So there's no carrying. There's no survival gains. No horsemanship gains. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up here. And next time we kick off again, we'll pick up on the 1st of July. We'll tally up all the expertise from the different skill gains over the past several days and figure out where these guys are going next. Likely heading back towards Kirketin unless Lendorin has news of something that these guys need to prioritize over the search for the orcs. So thanks for joining me all, and hope you are still finding this interesting. Please like, subscribe, all that usual stuff. And if you have any questions, comments, or anything else, please drop them down below. See you next time.